Alright, y'all, here we're going to do a video today for the VA. We're going to do a two-part video on holding and diversions. Why might you do holding? Perhaps you're doing an event on the network and ATC is a little backed up, congested, so they ask you to go into holding. You're going to want to know how to do that, should you ever be asked to do that. Also, there may be weather over the top of the field, maybe poor visibility or thunderstorms where you can't get in. And so you're basically just trying to delay in the air. Diversions, same deal. Maybe it's weather related, could be medical, could be a problem with the aircraft, could be any number of reasons. We're going to set this up for you here today. We are currently en route from Indianapolis to Nashville. You can see the navigation display there. We're currently directed Gumma, then Ryman. And we are actually on the Ryman to arrival into Nashville, doing a descend via, but then ATC says, hey, we're going to go into holding here. You can expect to hold at Ryman. Let us know when you're ready to copy. So we'll say we're ready. And what they'll do is they're going to change your clearance limit. And what that means is that's basically as far as you are now cleared to. So what they will say is Southwest 606 cleared to Ryman, hold northwest as published. Maintain level 190, expect further clearance at, and they'll give you a time. And that's going to be important for a number of reasons. In the real world, it's part of lost communications procedures for you. It's going to be mostly for planning. How long are you going to be in the hold? How much fuel are you going to burn? All that sort of thing. So we're going to look at all that stuff. Now they're going to also try to use published holds like this hold here at Ryman. It's easier for you as the pilot. It's something you can build quickly based on a visual here. That's also something they can issue without having to issue radials, distances, all that kind of stuff. So published holds are great for everyone. So here we have this published hold here at Ryman. It's an inbound of 157 with a right-hand turnout of 337. And you can see it says 10 nautical mile legs. So that's all the information that we need. We'll go over here and build that hold here. They might also tell you, you know, speed's your discretion, so you can slow down now if you want. I've already got it in descent here on profile down to 19. If I open the window and try to slow down, it's just going to put me high in profile, so I'm just going to leave it alone. In fact, it says some fast drag required. Anyway, a couple items here. So currently, if we get that holding clearance, we're going to hit hold. If I do next hold, got a couple cool features here. The iFly MAX8 has PPOS, or present position hold. Watch the navigation display. In fact, I'll turn off the TCAS traffic there so you can see. Watch what happens here when I hit PPOS. It shows PPOS right there. And if we were to zoom in far enough, I think you can even see, yeah, you can see the little bit of a holding pattern that's being drawn. And as you fly along, that should continue to jump further ahead. They may not have that programmed. But anyway, a present position hold can be really great for you. It's just going to set up a standard right-hand turn. It can be really great if you're just trying to troubleshoot something. In this case, we know where we're going to hold. We're going to hold at Ryman. So we're going to bring Ryman down to the boxes here. And we're going to start entering information from the chart here. So we know it's 10 mile legs. Let's drop that right there. We got an inbound course of 157. It is indeed a right-hand turn, so I don't need to do a slant L here, or I could just do a slant L there if I want to change it after the fact. Do a 157 inbound right-hand turns, 10 mile leg lengths, and our EFC time. So now we're going to reach Ryman at 1546 Zulu. It's currently 1541 Zulu. So let's say a half hour in the hold. Let's do 15 Zulu. That will save for our EFC time. That's basically a half an hour in the hold. Now, the PMDG does a pretty good job at the hold available time. The iFly, I've noticed, not so great. Now, that time should drop. I don't have 2 hours and 37 minutes of holding time available in the tanks. Where does it pull that information from? If I'm in the PMDG or even in the real aircraft, what it does is it pulls that information from right here in your perf page, your reserves fuel. Basically what that says is you can hold this long, depart this fix, go to the airport, and land with that number. Now, on a good clear VFR day, you guys probably know by now, without an alternate, we would do 4.4. If I execute that, go back to my hold page, it still shows 2 hours 37 minutes of hold available. I'm not quite yet in the hold yet, but I assure you it's not going to matter. Now, let's talk about how long we can then indeed hold in this holding pattern if we aren't going to get an accurate hold available number here. Now, again, as I said, the PMDG does a pretty good job of calculating that number. Currently, we have 11,100 pounds of fuel. We said via our release here, we'll look at our fuel tree and come back to this. We've got an en route burn of 5,000 pounds. I should start at the top here actually, where our release 49 minutes en route Indianapolis to Nashville with a Louisville alternate. Our routing 28,000 feet. Our fuel tree 5,000 pound fuel burn en route. We have 1,515 pounds of contingency hold, 15 minutes, which is pretty standard. Dispatch add a 1,500 pounds. Our dispatcher said added for possible ATC delays. Good on them. We, of course, added that ourselves here down here in LC5. Alternate fuel burn 41 minutes en route to go from Nashville to Louisville. And that, of course, is going to be from the missed approach in Nashville up to Louisville. FAR reserves of 3.4, 45 minutes. Standard IFR reserves, min takeoff of 15,325. We took off pretty much right at min takeoff fuel. Planned arrival fuel of 10.5 is actually going to be if we flew from Indianapolis to Nashville. No issues, no holding, nothing. Just flew straight to that airport, landed, no problem whatsoever. But today we're not going to make it in. There's all kinds of weather over Louisville, or I'm sorry, Nashville is what we're going to say. We're not going to be able to get in, low visibility, whatever it happens to be. We're not going to be able to get in, so we're in this holding pattern. And we're looking at basically, we have got essentially 3,000 pounds or 30 minutes of fuel to play with, which is pretty much what our EFC was. If we were to leave that hold at our EFC, continue on, fly to Nashville, shoot the missed approach, and fly up to Louisville, we would essentially land then, because we would have essentially burned all of this fuel out. We would only be down to the 3.4. That's not enough for me. That's actually emergency fuel. 4,000 pounds would be emergency fuel. 4.4 no less than in terms of our standard VFR reserves fuel. So what most of us will do is we'll round that number up to 5,000 pounds. And what we're going to do is we're going to work this backwards. So let's start with what we want to land in Louisville with and work it backwards. I want to land with no less than 5,000 pounds of gas in Louisville. I know it's going to take me 3,867. We can even round that up to 4,000 pounds if we're being really conservative here, to fly from Nashville's missed approach up to Louisville. So that's 9,000 pounds of gas. So what does that mean? It means I want to leave this holding pattern with no less than 9,000 pounds if the intent is to continue to Nashville, fly the approach, go missed approach, and move on to Louisville. Now, if I left even earlier, let's say 9.5 or even 10,000 pounds, that might give me 2 chances at an approach in Nashville before I have to say, okay, I don't have any gas, I have to go to Louisville at this point. Or a closer alternate, if you can find one, coordinate that with your dispatcher, of course, if you had one. So I'm going to say what we're going to do is here, we would be able to fly one approach at Nashville, go missed approach, and then say, okay, we're going to go to Louisville. So I'm going to take that landing fuel that I want, say 5,000 pounds, add 4,000 that. I'm going to make that 9,000 pounds. Now that we're in the hold, of course, we can report that to ATC, entering hold level 190. And it should also be, and I didn't do this, it should actually also be holding the speed of 215 knots, which it did not do for some reason. So we would actually want to match that up as well. 215 knots, I would have expected it to slow to that speed automatically for me. And at best speed there at 214 knots, what that's looking at is it's our weight, altitude, all the conditions today. It's basically your best econ speed here in this holding pattern to save as much fuel as possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to innet ref here, performance, and we're going to bump this up to 9.0. 5,000 plus the 4,000 to fly to Louisville. So if we don't leave this hold by the time we hit 9,000 pounds, we're leaving. All right. Now, increasing that reserves fuel to 9,000 should have changed our hold available time. Unfortunately, it did not. So it does not appear to me that this is working currently. Well, we can figure this out ourselves. How long do we have of hold available fuel? Grab your calculator. what we can do is look up here our fuel flow. We're doing 1.27, 1.29. That's just a little bit off right now because we're at idle. Here comes the power back up to match our 214 knots. And once that stabilizes, we can look and see what that fuel flow shows. Let me get an idea here. Now, obviously, we've got a little bit of time to work on all this and figure all this out. We were decided at 9,000 pounds. We were going to either continue to Nashville, fly one approach, go missed approach if we don't see the airport, and divert to Louisville. So now that this is stabilized out, we're looking at about, let's just call it 4,000 pounds per hour, 2,000 pounds per engine. So if we have 10,760 pounds, we'll just call it 10,700, and we're looking for 9,000 pounds for our bug out fuel. That's 1,700 pounds. That basically only gives us about 20 to 25 minutes. We'll call it 25 minutes of fuel. You can check my math on that. It's shy of a half an hour. So we'll call it 20 to 25 minutes. That's all I have in terms of holding available. It's 15:49 Zulu. If we're not out of this hold, I would say by 16:10, 16:12, and given a clearance in Nashville, then I'd be bugging out. The PMDG probably would do a pretty decent job of accurately showing your hold available here. So at that point, we'd have to decide, all right, we're going to have to leave this hold, and we're going to have to declare, not an emergency, but we would have to declare our divert and go to Louisville. So let's go ahead and simulate as if we have done some turns in this hold. We're down to about 9,300 pounds of fuel. ATC has not given us a change, and we're like, okay, we've got about one more turn in this hold, and we're going to have to divert. Now, if we look at our prog page, it shows Nashville at 8.5. Okay, so we are definitely now in a divert situation. We don't have the fuel to continue on to Nashville, do that approach, and continue on. These numbers here seem to work out pretty well in the sim. So route. Now, on the PMDG, on this spot here, you don't have a route to. What you have is an alternate destinations. And if you click that, the right side will give you nearest airports. If you click that, it'll give you a listing of airports, distance, and fuel upon landing at those airports. Not extremely accurate. It would show about a 200-pound burn to go to an airport that's maybe 15 miles away. It doesn't account for having to fly away, descend, turn around, come back, and land. So again, take those numbers with a grain of salt. Also, if you select, there's a button here you can press. You can enter your own airports, aka SDF, drop it there. It'll give you all the same information. If you click the button here, L5, there will be a button here that says direct or missed app. And what that missed app is supposed to do is give you the fuel burn from the missed approach at Nashville and then flying on to Louisville. The distance calculates properly from what I have seen. The fuel burn I don't think does, because when I played with this in the PMDG doing basically the same flight, it only gave me about a 15 to 1,700 pound burn. And clearly we've already seen that our alternate burn from Nashville to Louisville is 3,867 pounds. So again, be careful with those numbers. Best way to do this is work backwards, as I said. Take the fuel you want to land with, add your alternate burn, and that's your bug out fuel. 5,000 plus 4,000 is 9,000. I'm looking at 9.1. The jet says I'm going to land with 8.3. I'm not sure how accurate that is. It should be looking through all these fixes. I don't really see why that would be showing 8.3. Actually, that's probably accurate. 700 pound burn off of where we're at now. So yeah, that's probably realistic. What I really care about, though, is leaving this hold by 9,000 pounds. I've got an opportunity for one missed approach. If I don't see the airport, I'm going to Louisville. But we'll say ATC has no idea when we're going to get out of this hold. It's not looking like it's going to be anytime soon. So we're going to go ahead and divert. Now, how are we going to go about doing that? We've got a few ways that we can do that. If I was going to exit this hold right now, I can do exit hold. Exit is armed. Essentially what it would do at this point would fly straight out of that hold and continue on, which would be exactly what we might want to do if we were going into Nashville. Otherwise, what I can do is simply go to a different fix, and that will exit the hold. Say I put in Louisville here at the bottom, bring that to the top of page 1, and I could simply go direct to Louisville. We could do that. The PMDG does not have an opportunity to use Route 2, so that's going to be one of your solutions opportunities there in the PMDG. Of course, change the destination. The iFly MAX8 does have Route 2, so we'll use Route 2. Now we just have to pop in a departure and a destination. Any departure will do. Destination of Louisville. And then we have to go ahead and build a flight plan. Now, departure, arrival, our Route 2 down here at Louisville. Do we want to do an arrival? More than likely, ATC is going to give you some sort of procedure. In our case today, all we're going to simply do is go direct to Louisville. We're going to activate, execute, and off we go. Look, you can see we're turning out now. And we're going to go ahead and hit LNAV.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fasten seatbelt
speed
sign
window.
has been turned on.
Probably even want to, at this point, cruise the jet. 280 knots, maybe a little bit. It might be all right. 104 miles, though, we're going to be starting down very soon. At this point, though, the point of this conversation is now continuing on with the divert. So let's look at a few things here in LC5. Weather, arrival weather. We can put in Louisville here. Grab our weather. We know that today it's a nice, beautiful day. Check the NOTAMs down here in the D8s. You can see that it's a good airport for us. Plus, it's an online airport. Performance-wise, we can go to divert here, put in Louisville. Once we see it populated here, what we can do is performance. Now in our drop-down box for runways, we actually have the Louisville runways, and we can request landing data. Another great thing that we've got here, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, doing all the flight plan things here. Obviously, you're not just going to turn out here and just do your own thing and talk before you talk to ATC. However, on the back side of the checklist here, we've got a diversion information box. So before we do all that, we're going to contact the dispatcher, coordinate diversion, amend the dispatch release OFP, operational flight plan. We're going to verify fuel requirements, which we've done. We know it's going to take less than 3,800 pounds to go from our present position to Louisville. We can actually get that information from the dispatcher, what the present position fuel would be, the PPOS fuel to Louisville, en route burn. Verify approach charts on board. Of course, we've got Navigraph, but of course, that's also an online airport for us, so we definitely have approach charts on board. View the NOTAMs and weather. We've done that. It's a nice VFR day. No NOTAMs that really affect us. Notify ATC, which at that point you would get cleared to Louisville via the new routing. Put it in the FMC, execute it, start heading that direction. Reset pressurization. So if you were to take a look at an approach chart for Louisville, you would notice that airport elevation is about 500 feet. We'll set that in our pressurization. Monitor fuel burn and weather. Okay, monitor fuel burn, of course, what we're looking at there is now that we are going direct to Louisville, we can see that we're landing with about 7.8, 7.6. So we're looking at about 1,200 pounds of en route burn. Of course, we haven't started the descent yet, but that should be pretty accurate. And obviously, that's plenty of fuel to land in Louisville. More than likely, what we would do is just refuel and then head on to Nashville when the weather got better. Inform the flight attendants and passengers. So, of course, to do that, what we're going to do is come up here, 2 dings to the flight attendants, let them know what's going on, hop on the PA, make a PA to the passengers, and also let them know what's going on. Basically, that's it in a nutshell. What I would suggest you do is, use the tools and the resources available in the aircraft. Obviously, some of these numbers aren't calculated exactly correctly. Could be just a limitation in the aircraft, the software. Otherwise, what I would suggest you do is take those numbers in your fuel tree, work backwards. What do you want to land with? What's it going to take to get there? Come up with a plan. Let ATC know. Run through the checklist on the backside of the diversionary information on the backside of the checklist, and that should get you going in the right direction. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Discord, and I hope that helps.